Yes,
increasing
we should
slowly.
at least have 60, 70 people will definitely join. I'm
Yeah,
just putting
definitely.
it in the group. Yeah.
They're slowly joining.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, Radha ji. Good evening. So, ma'am, we've had this is the fourth batch that we are running. And before that, we've had three cohorts and
Right.
almost 260 faculty members we
Right.
have trained and certified in that.
That's
Hello,
nice.
good evening, Dr. Pushpanjali, Nadeem ji, Dani ji, good evening. We're just waiting for all your colleagues to join in, so we'll start in another 2 minutes. So, ma'am, you are in Delhi right now, or are you traveling?
I am in Delhi, but yes, next month we'll be going to Goa. So
Okay.
again, governing council meeting would be there. So I'll be.
Yes.
So they are from various colleges all over India, right?
Yes, ma'am. We have faculty members who are joining us from colleges all over India, and mainly they are from AICT approved institutions.
Yes.
Mostly tech and few non-tech professors are also faculty members are also there.
All
But the
right.
good thing is that they are from Amritsar to Andhra Pradesh to Gujarat to
Everywhere.
yes, yes, yes. We have a full faculty list
Right.
joining us.
And how do you, call for nominations? It's like you send across to different colleges and
Yeah, so one is we invite nominations through LinkedIn,
all
and
right.
AICT also has circulated this list of webinars to all its aligned colleges and universities.
All
So
right.
professors can easily register and nominate themselves. In fact, this program is also for working professionals and government officials if they want. So if in a, because the thing with this webinar is that we have very good industry experts who are coming and taking sessions, hands-on sessions.
All right. That's good.
So there are
That's
two
good.
things in this. One is we have a course content which is on Future Skills Prime. The
Right.
course is there, and we have industry members who take the updated versions of that. So hands-on training of the same content is given to the faculty members.
Faculty members also.
So that ways it is a, I mean, I'll suggest that if in your organization, if you want people to get trained on AI tools,
Yeah,
the
actually, yeah, we have lot of ISFs, but which means that they have in each 63 centers they have. So lot of colleges are connected. So they would have a center, a student forum connected with the center. So this is how they operate. And
okay,
yeah,
okay,
so there would be 500 colleges connected that way.
okay. So, ma'am, our next cohort is starting on December 1st, December
All
1st
right.
to 6th. on generative AI fluency.
All
So
right. So we
you
can we
can
can circulate to
nominate.
our
Yes, 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 absolutely.
surely,
They can join in and
surely.
benefit. So I'll
I,
now
I
officially,
just give me
yes,
1 minute.
yes, yes, ma'am. I'll welcome all of you, welcome faculty members to this next batch of the online faculty development, which is sponsored by AICTE and which is being run by SSC NASCOM. Welcome you all, and I thank AICT for giving us this opportunity to work with all of you and to upskill all of you and to work with industry to get them to engage with you. The topic of this FTP is Generative AI Fluency. The course is available on Future Skills Prime. We have made a separate WhatsApp group where we give all the information. So I will put that information in the chat, and all the attendance will be recorded through the Zoom link. So please use the same email ID that you have registered on Atal, because that's how we are going to track it. And with that, I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Manju ma'am for her inaugural address. She is holding the position of Secretary General of the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers. Ma'am has a distinguished career spanning over 35 years in the power sector and educational leadership. She's a fellow of IETE and has been holding numerous key positions, including most recently, she was the ex principal director at NPTI, which is the National Power Training Institute, Faridabad. Ma'am holds a Bachelor of Engineering degree from NIT Srinagar, MS from BIT Pilani, MBA, and a PhD degree, and extensive experience in developing and implementing academic programs and managing large scale projects and engaging with stakeholders. Her expertise, which is relevant to us mostly, is strong background in e-learning courses and cybersecurity. She is the recipient of the National Award of the Best Young Woman Trainer and other organizational awards for being adjudged as the best trainer and as the best principal director. Wonderful, ma'am. We welcome you all for your inaugural address.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And good evening to everyone present here, especially if we have officers from Atal, AICT Atal Academy, and also all the officers from NASCOM, and most importantly, the faculty members who are participating in this faculty development program. And it's an honor to be a part of this faculty development program, which is a collaboration between two pillars. In fact, India's educational, uh, academy, and also the voice of our industry, that is NASCOM, and they are building the architect of our digital vision. So I thank the organizers, especially Kamna. I really thank you for giving me this opportunity to be, present on this occasion and speaking to the very learned faculty members. The title of this FTP program, which is AI Fluency, Gen AI in the Real World, has been very pertinently chosen. And it's not just a topic, actually, it is a strategic requirement for our nation's next decade. And we are not just witnessing a technology shift, we are, in fact, experiencing a fundamental inflection point in human productivity. And we can see the pace of generative AI adoption, from large language models to agentic AI, which is capable of autonomous actions. And this change has been phenomenal. This has been extraordinary. uh, I think this FDP is the bridge between, ensuring that what we teach today aligns with the skills that would be required required for the students who would be, in fact, building the economy of the country. if we go to the ITS sectors, Gen AI has moved past the proof of concept. Now it is like augmenting engineers, transforming customer experience, and of course, redefining the back office operations. Recently, I was going through the McKinsey report, which estimates that Gen AI could add trillions of dollars annually to the global economy. And for India, this represents an unprecedented opportunity. Uh, we, this can drive productivity, and this can also solidify our position as the skills capital of the world. And I'm sure that we will be achieving this shortly. And if everybody gets into it, we can do it. Now, our focus today is not merely on AI capability. That is the ability to train a model, but it is on AI fluency. And I was going through the definition that NASCOM has created for AI fluency, which is an enterprise-wide ability to integrate AI confidently, effectively, and responsibly into decision-making, operations, and culture. So I feel this is an apt definition, and we need to be confidently getting into the AI business, and also with the getting into this comes responsibility. So we need to be responsible also when we are making any decisions, when we are uh, getting into the operations, getting it into the operations side. So this is the shared understanding across business and technology functions. And this is what AI can do, where it fits, and how to manage its risks. These have to be very seriously thought about. Now, our challenge as educators, since most of the faculty are there and also the industry partners, is to rapidly instill this fluency into the next generation of professionals. As we know, government of India has been focusing on this, and it has laid a robust and inclusive foundation through the India AI mission. And this strategic initiative is designed to position India as the global leader in AI, which is driven by the vision of AI for all. And this mission is very pragmatic, and it generally is focusing on seven foundational pillars. But if we talk about, I mean, the relevance for this webinar, I would talk about India AI Compute, which is establishing high performance compute infrastructure for indigenous AI models, like the ones being invited through the call of proposals. This would ensure that the models that are trained on would be based on their Indian databases, that would be addressing unique vernacular challenges. So, I mean, this is what we want. We want our AI models that could be based on the data that is there, because uh, we cannot work on the data that is available outside India. So we need to really work on the indigenous AI models. The another pillar that we I think is really apt for this forum is the India AI Future Skills. And this is where you, the faculty, are the frontline soldiers. So the programs that the government of India has set aside, like Future Skills Prime and the newer skilling for AI readiness, that is SOAR, are integrating AI competencies into our educational framework right from the school level. In fact, recently it was mentioned that the AI curriculum would be now introduced from class 3 from 26-27. So this ecosystem is designed to build a pipeline of AI literate professionals. And the earlier we start, the better it would be for India. Um, Also, I was reading about the India AI Fellowship Program by MIT, which supports undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral students in AI and ML. Uh, And this is there to foster India's next generation of AI leaders by supporting them in research, and also by bridging the gap between the theory and the practical applications. So this is a great initiative by Government of India, and I'm sure that faculty members would be taking help from this, and also applying for these fellowship programs. I'm quoting up some data from NASCOM itself, the AI Adoption Index 2.0, which indicates that India's aggregate AI maturity is at the enthusiast stage with a score of 2.47 out of 4. So there has been a significant rise, almost like two times, in the number of companies moving into the expert stage across all sectors compared to what we were in 2022. But when we see or look at the banking sector or financial services and healthcare, um, we find that these sectors are leading sectors in terms of potential AI value, and are adding to the India's GDP. Uh, they are slower, or maybe at a lower pace if you look at the AI adoption maturity as compared to the sectors like manufacturing and especially media and entertainment. You will find a lot of AI being used in media and entertainment. And the report that indicates that 60% of respondents in BFSI and healthcare and energy and utilities, they're more focusing on reskilling their non-AI workforce, which indicates ongoing foundational work rather than full maturity. So we see that definitely AI is uh, a business strategy, but the journey to expert stage adoption across all key sectors in India is still progressing. We haven't reached to the expert level. We are still at the maturing stage. The the industry is demanding graduates these days who can not only use Python, but who can articulate the value of a Gen AI solution to a business problem. So the success dimension of these organizations would no longer be about algorithms. It's not just about algorithms, but it would be more about strategy that they are going to adapt and what would be the impact. So the talent acquisition and workforce enablement, and most importantly, uh, ethics and governance in AI would be the focus area, definitely. If you again look at the ITES sector, generative AI is delivering value across three primary dimensions. So if you see code augmentation, because of the rise of code assistants like you have GitHub Copilot, which has in fact boosted programmers' productivity by almost 30 to 50% in many trials. So it is not about replacing developers, but it is like freeing them from boilerplate kind of code, debugging, and those kind of repetitive things that they are doing. This would allow them to focus on high value architectural design, and they could go back to the system integration, focus more on these aspects rather than debugging and doing repetitive kind of things. So we have seen massive transformation in the services like ITAS. GenAI powered multi-model LLMs. What you see here right now, in fact, your this whole webinar is being recorded, and I'm sure that within seconds after the recording is over, you will get a transcript, the whole script of whatever has been said. So earlier you had to just go through the recording and write physically and then type it on. But now you have these services which can, through multimodal LLMs, which you can process text, your audio, your images, and of course video. So all these are available, and we need to make use of these. So uh, we get automated personalized resolution in fact, agents suggest us all these things, and we are simply moving beyond simple chatbots to agentic AI now, which are which would be like a kind of autonomous entities, and would be capable of taking actions, in fact. So um, you can imagine AI agents handling complex multi-step business processes. Maybe in the future you would have an end-to-end IT procurement, or maybe supply chain optimization, or even personalized academic advising also could be there. Though, I mean, we are working on it, but then they're not fully trained to do so. For the students that you are dealing with, who are pursuing software development careers, I think Gen AI must be introduced as an essential collaborator, not just as a tool. Uh, what I see is that prompt engineering is the new data structure, and students have to develop the ability to craft clear, precise prompts that yield reliable code. So this is a critical skill that they need to learn. In fact, just recently for my organization, we had to set aside some budget for the travel expenses, and I asked my staff to prepare a list of the money that would be spent on airlines from different locations, because there would be people traveling from different locations, and we had to set aside the budget. And I asked him to prepare, and somehow he knew about what kind of prompt he would be writing, and maybe within maybe half an or less than 15 minutes, he gave me in a tabular form all the the tentative fare of all the uh, airlines, and also the places from where people will be traveling. And otherwise he would have to spend not less than 2 hours to get all this data from the airlines, or and search on the net and get all this data and compile it. But using efficient prompt engineering, he could get this data maybe within 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes, in fact. So the we need to encourage the students to clearly draft precise prompts that would give the relevant output, in fact. And we also need to encourage students to use AI to generate uh, boilerplate codes, but at the same time they also need to then critically review the output for security, vulnerabilities, efficiency, and also the architectural compliances. They cannot just like get the output and just show it like this. They need to critically review it before attempting to do something which could have security issues. So what we can do is that we can teach the students to use Gen AI for creating comprehensive test suites also, and edge cases, which would dramatically reduce the time spent on the quality assurance. We cannot just tell the students why you have used this if they're using, say, chat gpt or any other gen ai tool. We cannot tell them that why you are using. Instead of asking them why you have used, we can ask them as to how they have used, and to what extent have they been able to they can compare what, as a human being, they have thought about, and what the gen ai has helped them with. So this is what we need to do. And another example that I can share is for those in content and analytics and business processes. See, Gen AI is a very powerful content and knowledge transformer. And as faculty can use Gen AI to generate tailored practice problems, you can give your students these, you can create diverse reading comprehension packages, or you can ask them to summarize complex research papers into digestible formats, so that different people have different learning paces, so you can ask them to go through it and understand, instead of instead of reading the whole research paper, which they can get a summary of the what all is there in a research paper. So this is going to save a lot of time for the researchers also, and this is a direct application, in fact, for the efficiency in your FTP learnings. Also, like uh, every student must master the AI productivity multiplier. We are entering in an area, in an era where at 10x developer is not necessarily 10 times smarter, but 10 times more leveraged by AI. So we have to use AI to complete the 80% of the routine work, like say documentation, summarizing, drafting certain emails and other things. So that this 100% of human time can be focused on the 20% that requires creativity, imagination, complex problem solving, and emotional intelligence and human judgment, where so far AI has not been able to infringe into. So, students should learn to seek opportunities to integrate AI into existing workflows, where the routine administrative tasks or research or complex modeling, not as an afterthought, but they should be initially designed as in principle. So, I think as faculty, you need to bring the change in the pedagogy that you are using, and the transformation we need starts from here. I mean, it should start from you, and the role of the faculty is changing from being the sole source of information to becoming the architects of AI augmented learning environments. So you have a great responsibility, and as I said, instead of banning Gen AI tools, so you should assign projects that mandate the ethical and effective use of these tools. And the focus should be like, from did you write this, or instead you should ask them, how did you use the AI tools to elevate the quality of your output, and what human oversight did you provide? So I think there are other aspects also where you can use AI in generating like adaptive quizzes, or maybe personalized feedbacks, customized learning materials, which are tailor made to a student's space. So because one size doesn't fit all, so we can this can be used for different students. You can personalize it to a student's need. So I think that you are the key people, you who will translate the vision of AICT and ASCOM into tangible classroom and lab experiences. And I am sure that embracing Gen AI fluency is about reskilling ourselves to better skill our students, in fact. So I'm sure that over the 6 days, lot of inputs would be provided to you. I was going through uh, the schedule that has been provided to me, and I think all aspects have been covered, be it pharmaceuticals or be it real estate, or I mean communication, presentation writing, or retail supply chain. Everything has been covered. I'm sure that you will have a wonderful learning all 6 days, and all the best to all of you. And the next 30 years will not be about AI replacing humans, but about humans augmented by AI, replacing humans who are not. So let us all get prepared. And once again, thanks to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my views to the elite audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manju ma'am. I think you rightly said that teachers are now going to be the architects of the learning journey. They are not the sole
Yes.
repositories of knowledge. So they
Yes.
need to buckle up basically. And that's
Yes.
what we are going to do in all these 6 days. We have industry experts who talk to them about the hands-on use of AI. So Thank you so much. And in this first of the series, I would love to welcome Dr. Puneet Agarwal, who is joining us from Rocket Frog AI. He has 26 years of experience behind him. He has worked with Zensar Technologies. He has worked with TCS Research. He's has experience of working in multiple verticals: BFSI, fashion, e-commerce, consumer services, high-tech manufacturing, you name it, life sciences, government, utilities, shipping, logistics, telecom. There's no domain that he has not worked in. So uh, the faculty has a lot to learn from him. He's published 50 plus research papers and he has a PhD degree from IIT Delhi. And I won't take much time from you, Dr. Puneet. Over to you for this session. And thank you, Manju ma'am, once again for joining. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And hello, Dr. Puneet.
Hello, Dr. Manju. Very nice to hear your views. Indeed,
Thank
it was
you.
inspiring the way you narrated it. The teachers have to play, as always, the most
Yes.
important role in this journey.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let me share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, so let's getting started. And the agenda for next 1.5 hours is to first learn about generative AI. And we'll also delve into what is some basics of generative AI, starting from scratch, from basics. And then we'll go into some use cases of generative AI. And then in the second half of this discussion, we will talk about what is agentic AI, the examples of various use cases of agentic AI, the technology stack that is used these days for implementation of this technology. And sometimes I'll dabble into a bit on prompt engineering and why agentic AI is hard, and some high impact use cases for the industry. And particularly, I'm focusing a bit more on insurance than on others today. So with that as an outline, um, let me get started. So let's begin with some very basic mathematics. We all have studied, but I'll just rekindle your or re-jog your memory a bit. So in probability theory, or in machine learning basics, we have two types of models. Uh, and these models are a discriminative model and generative model. In a discriminative model, uh, we try to learn, we apply Bayes' rule as you see here, and we try to learn the probability of an event given observed facts, whatever we have observed, and based on that, we take a decision. For example, if we want to classify photographs of people, boy versus girl, young versus old, etc., child versus grown up, based on various features that you observe, you take a decision. That decision is Y, and your observations about that photograph are X. That's typically how discriminative models work. Generative models are typically try to model a joint probability distribution, that is, given two facts, what is the likelihood of something happening? We'll take examples of this a little more. The focus for today is generative model and not the discriminative one. With that, moving forward, generative AI model. So it's based on joint probability distribution, like we saw in the previous slide, probability of x comma y, right? And the examples are, so we want to learn a distribution of students in a class, right? When you're teaching, you have students and they come from different genders, they come with different mother tongues, they all do not have equal height, their skin color is different, their hairstyles are different, etc., etc. So as you see in this photograph, you see some distribution of students, right? And certain distribution. Now, if you uh, learn this from many classes, you will observe that certain percentage distribution of people with gender, certain percentage distribution of people with specific mother tongue, height, etc. Right? Now, can we generate data for a new class, a typical class, which is similar to the, I don't know if you can see these. So let me just bring these down, these windows. So the original, let's say we learned this from some classes, some distribution of students, and we can generate more data. The question is, will it be very same to the original one that we learned from? Or can it have same properties, same distribution, similar distribution? So in fact, yes, it is possible to represent a typical class if we learn from many classes that you teach, right? If we learn this joint probability distribution of various factors, and in this example, we are using 5 of them, but we can use 20, 10, 30 more factors. And this is called generative model in machine learning, and it forms the basis of modern generative AI. That's like, I think you all know this, but I thought of covering this as a basic. First, fundamentals are always important. Now, challenges in generative models. Sorry. As you see already on the left hand side and the right hand side, there is a difference. They are from Indian context. So, by default, if you generate data, not the photographs are symbolic here, what kind of ethnicity they will belong to? If you generate this from a pre-trained model, such as ChatGPT, it may get biased towards certain background. But if you give a hint to it that I need Indian context, it can fix it. However, let's talk about the challenges, right? So if we try to cover all ethnicities, all countries, cultures in the training data, will that remove the bias? But even if we try to do all the features, can we cover all of the variations? Are there finite number of variabilities? And in fact, it's hard. And that forms the genesis of this problem called bias. There is bias in the machine learning, and it depends on the training data that you use for training these models. And when it, for example, like you see here, when you ask it to generate a worker in an oil rig, will it show a woman? You know the answer already. If you ask it to generate a teacher, will it show a man? If you ask it to generate a photograph of a class, will it generate from India by default? And these are some questions, and you know the answers already. It probably will not. And so So that's the challenge of bias. How do we solve it? Well, there are many approaches. There, to some extent, you can reduce it, but the problem becomes hard when there is unknown bias. We're not aware of the bias. And the only way for that, to the best of my experience and knowledge, is to test the system in a neutral manner, in an inclusive manner. Right? That's the only way to actually test it from all aspects. Otherwise, this is a hard problem in all generative AI. Okay? Let's be aware of it and be cautious. A brief on how LLMs work. A very brief. Again, a concept to reinforce on the generative models. And after that, we'll take a pause and wait for questions if you have any. And we're just coming to a closure of a particular module, if I were to say. So suppose you have a sentence that reads like this: tree, one jumped, another from elephant too. It is not a sentence. It doesn't mean anything, but it has some words. What if we reorder these words and we have another sentence: elephant jumped from one tree to another? Now, which sentence is more likely to be correct? Probability of sentence 2 is more than the probability of sentence 1. We all know it. So that's the basis of how joint probability distributions are modeled. We have another example on the same thing, just giving a little more fun, that there is third sentence: monkey jumped from one tree to another. Which is more likely? If elephants start jumping the trees, it won't work. So let's not try to imagine. We are saying that probability of sentence 3 is more than that of sentence 2. Okay, let me see if there is a question. If there's an attendance, so maybe come now, take care. Let me continue. So with that as a background, we'll delve a bit into use cases of generative AI. And largely, I put them in two baskets. Doing things that we all know. We can, but it does it faster. It does it, I wouldn't say better, it does it fast and much less effort. So I heard Dr. Manju talking about that people can summarize research papers now. That's exactly the point. Document summarization is a major use case in generative AI. Not only research papers. In the industry, we often get requests for
I'll
proposals.
I'll just sorry to interrupt. Some people are saying that they cannot see the slides. I am able to see the slides. So if some of you are not able to see the slides, please log out and log back in. Otherwise, slides are visible for me, so I'm sure it's visible for a whole lot of you. For a few of you, if not visible, request you to log out and log back in. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Should I hold for a minute while they rejoin?
No, it's visible for most of the people. One or two people are not able to see. So I'm just, for their benefit, I said that they can log out and log back in. You can please continue.
All right. So what I was saying was that document summarization is an important use case, and one of the first one that I have seen in the industry is a lot of requests for proposals. I have seen small RFPs, just about 3-4 pages, and I've seen the large ones where even our laptop will hang to open that Word document, like 500 pages long document. And you can imagine reading such large piece of text can take weeks for people. And then forget about reading it, trying to create a mind map of such a large request for proposal, um, trying to understand exactly what is being asked for and all the complex scenarios is an extremely difficult task, and it's normally done by not one human being, a set of people, and they read the sections, they divide the sections, they read it and discuss, and then read and discuss, and it takes a lot of time otherwise to read this kind of a proposal. That's typically a process followed in the industry. What I just narrated in short. I have also looked at a RFP where reading the RFP took us almost like 2 weeks only to read the RFP. Today, it doesn't take that long, thanks to the LLM. It can just summarize to us. We can validate our thinking. Have we understood it or not? We can ask a lot of questions against it, etc., etc. So the life has become much different. I wouldn't say easy or better or something. I will say very different from how it was earlier. So that's major use case. And it was a challenge. So this is exactly what I was saying. Not only does it summarize for us, we can ask questions. Similarly, financial reports. People read the financial reports of companies, the annual reports of companies, and they spend days reading it. Analysts spend a lot of time. They read more than one company's report in the same segment of the industry, right? So, for same segment, industry segment, they will read the financial report of many different companies and create a perspective in their mind. And it can sometimes take whole day or longer. Academic research papers, you all know, even I will share my, some experiences. There were times that I've spent, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks reading same paper, many times. And, and today I don't think it needs that long a time. Yes, reading in depth still requires a lot of time, but uh, reading 2-3 days was very, very common, but it's not anymore. I can now finish in 2 to 3 hours something similar that I would have otherwise gained in a day maybe, and maybe more insights. The other problem that happens to everybody, and people seldom acknowledge it, is that when we read a new paper, there are terminologies that we don't know what it is. And we need to first understand that before we continue to read, or we choose to skip that concept and try to move ahead. With this LLM, you don't have to worry much. It can give you a high level summary of that topic that you have not understood. And therefore, not only this, that you can read faster. Reading research papers has become a lot more interesting, at least I can say for me, that I can, when I read it, it becomes, I get the message and gist of it much sooner than otherwise. We can generate quizzes, exercises. I'm sure you would be doing this. I do this for my kid, younger one. I generate some mathematics simple questions for multiplication and division, etc. And it would generate just 10 questions, take a print, and it's just for the kids to do it. They don't do it is a different story, but but the point is you don't have to look for a book that could give you all those questions anymore. You just give a sample questions and set of questions, and it'll generate more for you, right? Not only in the document summarization, another thing that is very, very popular is particularly in the media segment and in the marketing segment is generation of images. You look at social media today, and let's say 3 years ago, number of images that were graphically created was by humans using various softwares such as Adobe Photoshop, versus today they are being generated by AI. And you can figure out yourself that this photograph was actually generated by AI and this one was human created. And the percentage of such photographs has changed significantly in the social media. Similarly, for presentations, when we make presentations to various clients, etc., business presentations, we often tend to use. I used some of the images in the beginning of this presentation. They were also generated. Generating software programs is another very interesting use case of generative AI, and I'll take some extra time on this one. Let me see if there is any question. A very interesting question from Manjula. How generative AI is differentiated from traditional AI? What a nice question. So I think the generative AI, like I said, is in the beginning of the slide. My first slide was discriminative versus generative. So generative models have been there for a long time. But the key difference in my view is that generative AI is pre-trained on large volume of data, large corpus, such as this ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Grok, so many of them. You use them, right? And they are pre-trained on large corpus of data on a large compute infrastructure. As a result, you can now generate newer data. And the generation of newer data happens to be, or creation of new thing was only an art of that was, which was mastered by human beings and not by machines so far. And as accurate as it can, not just what you see here. We will learn in next 5 to 10 minutes when I open the floor for questions, and I'm going to ask a question to you all. And let me come to that, and then you will let's hold this part of this answer to this question for a few more minutes, and then it'll become clearer. So let me continue on this generating software programs. That's another very interesting subject these days. Very, very interesting. And in my company, last Friday itself, we were having a long discussion with most of the techies getting together on this topic, that it can generate this software, test cases, not only the programs, it can generate these test cases. It can even test the system. However, and people have given the Gen Z, the new generation, has given it a name called vibe coding. Right? And the vibe
Correct. This vibe coding is the buzzword.
Right. The Gen Z gives these names, and they're interesting names they give it. And vibe coding, in my view, from where I see, is a major challenge. And I'll narrate to you a very short incident that happened with me a few months ago, and I wrote a LinkedIn post also on it. And the scenario was that my team had a system, it was working. I asked them to make a small change, a very small change. And they said, we've done the change, but it's not working. And with all these, years of working, etc., you tend to develop something called as overconfidence. So I was overconfident about my own Python skills. And I said to myself, come what may, I'll deal with it, not more than 2 hours. And I remember getting on with it after lunch, 2:33 p.m. And I was supposed to show a demo of that work to our customers later in the night, to the American customers. And I was thinking that maybe an hour max, I'll fix it. And I did, little did I know, I should say, that I'm going to be facing one of the most complex programmer on earth that I have seen in my life. That's LLM. It generated, and this code was not written by my team, was written by LLM. And my confidence got shaken up. I thought I knew AI. I thought I knew Python. And that day I learned that I'm still to learn a lot more Python that I knew. And guess what? It after 4 hours or 6 hours, could not fix it accidentally, or I should say luckily, one of our team member, when we were sitting together, gave an idea, we tried it, it worked. As they say, just like any other Bollywood movie, the story ended on a positive note. But the reality was that the take-home message was that never be overconfident with this LLM coding. So the other takeaway message is that what about the maintainability of systems developed in such a manner? We put such systems in production, they work. And what if something breaks today? How are we going to fix it? Nobody can read that code. It's a bad code. And just to discourage my team from using vibe coding, I said it's an AI trap. AI is trying to trap you, that only AI will write the code and only AI will debug. And you are being, sort of pushed out of this job. But having said that, there are benefits of vibe coding. You cannot ignore. What we could otherwise do in weeks can now be done in days. So we cannot ignore it either. The only choice is we have to face it, right? So there are many new technologies that are coming up. There are many tools that are coming up, and it's a topic of its own that can be discussed for long. In short, I will tell you 3, 4 problems that I have observed in my own little experience of vibe coding. Number one, it often generates more complex code than required. The same task can be done in a much simpler manner. The second learning that I had was the variable names are intuitive, but they are hard to read for human beings. How human comprehension happens is when you have a piece of code, you read it to yourself. You read it, and at least that's how I do it. I'm sure many of you must be following similar practice. You read it and you talk to yourself in a way, and you keep reading it like English. But if there is concept overlaid loading, that is, the concept is key and the value and concepts are key and value in a dictionary. If the variable name is also same as concept, such as key and value, so now you're talking about concept overloading, right? And if the key is key and the value is value, then you use the value. If the value is not a plain value, then and it's also a key value pair, that kind of thing. It's hard to you. I'm sure I was saying something probably didn't make sense to you, but something like that happens. And the simple task is, if you are receiving a dictionary, it can have a key and value pairs. Sometimes the value is also a dictionary, which also comprises of key and value. And if the program written is like this, that key and value as key and value of the first dictionary, then the value is value only if it is plain variable. Otherwise, the value is the value of value, right? Reading a program like this kind of language I used just now is very hard. As you heard me, I'm sure many of you who tracked every word carefully of what I was saying, it was sensible. But those who lost a little, any sentence from me wouldn't have been able to catch up that as to what am I saying. So that's a problem with vibe coding. It gives you variable names that are overloaded with the concept. The other problem that I have often observed is it uses not so popular libraries. It will end up using certain libraries, and young people don't know whether that's a good enough library to use, and they go ahead with it. As a result, the system becomes a mess. Every program is using different set of libraries, and it becomes a mess. Likewise, I can go on. There are many problems that are yet to be solved in vibe coding. So, in summary, programmers need not worry. Their job is still safe. That's all I will say, at least for the time being. Let me move forward. Assist in writing. We all know that writing has become much easier. It assists people in writing a lot. Even research papers that we write has number of papers that are getting submitted to the top tier conferences has changed by many-fold. The most recent experience that I had with AAAI was this year. I heard they had almost 30,000 research papers being submitted. 30,000 research papers. By any means, it's not a small number. So it assists us a lot in writing. And at least we are writing a lot of our proposals to our customers, business proposals via LLM, etc. So there are many, many use cases of writing. And particularly expertise in language is not a barrier anymore. Many of us spend life learning English, but now people who are not so conversant with English can write a good research paper. At least the first version can be generated, and it also helps in thinking. So let me take a pause here. If people want to share what kind of additional use case they have used in their life on generative AI, this is all generation of data.
If somebody wants to speak, you can raise your hand. I'll give you access to speak, or you can type in your experiences.
You can type and I'll read it out for you. Okay, there is a question coming. Looks like, what are the significant risks and limitations in medical field, especially in diagnosis? So that's a question by Ravindra Kumar. Ravindra, for medical field, especially in diagnosis, there are two ways to do it. One is you're talking about apparently a case of non-generative AI, where you have an image of an X-ray image, and you're trying to detect or diagnose a malignant part in the X-ray or not so. Those are classification problems. But let's come to generative AI side of it. The diagnosis is not just limited to a specific test. The diagnosis has to be correlation of multiple facts. That can be multiple test reports, multiple narrations given by the patient, etc. And there, the use of modern technology is not only in generative AI, it's using agentic AI. So I wouldn't, if at all you want to use modern AI for medical diagnosis, I would propose using agentic AI rather than generative AI. And then answering your question, just to make it complete, what are the risks associated? Well, the well-known risks are hallucinations, etc., jailbreak maybe. But we'll talk about some of those. How do we reduce such risk in agentic AI? That's coming up in the subsequent slides. In fact, I have a case study coming up in a very similar topic in subsequent pages. The drawback is security. How can we overcome, sir? A very nice question, Venu. Security, most of our customers today are dealing with that risk. The first thing we do for them in a Rocket Frog is that we set up their own private, sorry, their own private LLM. As a result, their data is not going out of their company. The LLM is now available in the open source world. Even ChatGPT, OpenAI has released open source version of their deep learning model that is behind these ChatGPT. So I think that has become a very commonly used artifact. Uh, in terms of security, that's one big thing. The second becomes the more authentication and authorization based. There again, I will say AI is helping only, is not creating a problem. That's in a nutshell. Unless you be a little more specific, I can talk about it. There's a question from Manjula on what ethical practices should organizations follow while adopting Gen AI in their daily workflows. Very nice question. So the first thing is, knowingly or unknowingly, we should never copy and paste the customer's data to the chat GPT or customer's document copy and paste. We should read the problem at hand and ask questions and talk to chat GPT for our own knowledge so that we can perform better. Unless otherwise authorized that the data is not confidential, we we should not use the LLM. That's I think is a major thing that we tell all our people in our company also. And many companies have an embargo on ChatGPT from their official laptops. They cannot use it. So that's another fact that you should probably be knowing, that they're not allowed to use Gemini, ChatGPT unless there is an enterprise version where OpenAI or Google or corresponding service provider is giving them the security guarantees. In terms of ethical use of AI, there's a very nice question by Manjula. I'll tell you how we do this for the enterprise world, for the corporate world. First is we ask their companies to create an AI policy. What is their policy for AI? And then the policy should imbibe all the ethical practices. For example, they should never create AI component to work against their customers. I've seen many companies coming up with very creative means of and very thoughtfully designing their AI policy. And once the policy is designed, it's about governance, that the organization at large should follow that AI policy. And uh, we in Rocket Frog have created something called as AI Compass, and it's a long frame, it's a fairly elaborate framework. And to give you a gist of it, there are many ethical considerations we tell people to use, what kind of data to use, what type of bias uh, testing should happen. All such is included in the AI policy document. And they try and narrate it back to their customers that we are using AI in a fair and ethical manner. These are some key traits of every AI component that is being used in our company. And then they start adopting it. So that's the way of, I will talk about the organizations of corporate practice that is there and prevalent. In fact, there are tools for AI governance about checking every algorithm, every component being developed uh, uh, should be measured against the AI policy. Right? Let's move to the next question. How much to include in a PGDM course subject like finance? How much AI? With Dr. Lakshmi, it's a subjective opinion. If you ask a person like me who makes his career and life out of AI, I will say or teach them only AI. But more on a realistic front, AI has become a common denominator. You're talking about PGDM course. I would say even schools should teach it. These days, 10th graders in my neighborhood, I've seen kids using ChatGPT in such an innovative manner, even I could learn from them. So it could be a separate topic of discussion, which probably I may not like to cover here. Let's proceed. Okay, Manjula is saying something. If you don't mind, I think organizations should follow ethical practices like protecting user data, being transparent about where and how generative AI is used, checking for bias in outputs, and making sure humans review important decisions. They should also use generative AI responsibly so it does not harm privacy, security, or fairness. What a nice and a delightful thought, Manjula. Thanks for sharing this. What a nice answer. Um, all I will say is when we design an AI policy for an organization, it's a lot more comprehensive than the paragraph that you shared. And yes, building a narrative for their customers, partners, and all these stakeholders about ethical use of AI is also part of AI governance. What kind of AI governance tools, please name? I will have to check in my notes. I don't remember the top of my head. There was something. I will answer this question in a little more. I'll have to stop sharing my screen and I'll pull up from the document and share it with you, Dr. Gur Vishal. By the way, if you ask ChatGPT also, it will tell you what are the AI governance tools, but I'll give you names of a few in a while. How AI will affect jobs. Oh, beyond the topic of my question discussion, Parikshit Parikshit Bhai Patel. So Parikshit Bhai, short answer is it will affect. There is no second thought. I'd be try to be political over here. It is affecting already, in my view. At the same time, it is opening up new opportunities for us. There were new jobs, new tasks that we will see in subsequent slides, which were not beyond imagination for us, whether it is possible to automate them or not. Today, that has become possible. So it is not no denying to the fact that it is creating new opportunities also for us. The question becomes, are there more opportunities than losses? Well, that's a subject that's beyond my area of study. I have very similar a person like you are probably, and observing that probably it's the new opportunities are probably lesser than the what is getting automated, right? So in a way, your fear is not wrong completely. How governance tools work, Dr. Gaur Vishal saying. Okay, so I think I'll have to pause the questions after this and move on with our talk. So thank you for asking so many interesting questions. I'll just take this as a last one, and then because there's a lot more to cover for me, and we'll open up the floor again in the middle for more questions. How governance tools work? Well, governance tools work like this, that they will kind of validate the training data every time. There are tools that which are already pre-established. They will check. They will ask you to upload all kind of test reports to make sure that it's kind of audit-based approach, whether you have actually done that or not. There are governance tools such as those available in various cloud service providers, which will check, if you're calling a publicly hosted LLM, is there a leakage of data? Have you not adequately masked, like the point that Manjula made about data privacy, right? Are you unknowingly, inadvertently sharing this data with the publicly hosted LLM, etc. So that's really how they do it. Manjula is asking, what skills should students start learning how to effectively work with GenAI in future? I think there I have a very interesting view, Manjula. Number one, they should learn the prompt engineering. And more I learn of prompt engineering, I feel less I know. my own personal experience. So I can continue to learn. It's a vast field in summary. The next thing they probably should learn is agentic AI. Those who are interested in scientific areas, there's a lot of on the deep learning side. There's a lot on mathematics and deep learning side. My favorite question to all the people that I who want to work in AI in my company is, have you done a course on probability and statistics? Have you done a course on linear algebra, the advanced course on linear algebra? And have you done a deep learning course on standard deep learning? And then other things I ask them. Standard deep learning course, I ask them for various neural network architectures, back propagation, etc. So those are typically, I think that gives you the answer to where they should start. But let me now, as I said, I'll continue with the subsequent slides, and you can keep typing in questions. I'll see if I can take them during my narration, or I'll have a dedicated stop in between. All right, so now some lesser known use cases of generative AI. Okay, I don't know some of them, how much you know. You have a core banking system, such as, I don't know if you've seen them. The banks use core banking systems, right? Like a very famous one in India is by TCS and Infosys. One called Banks, BANCS by TCS, Finacle by Infosys, etc. You must have heard their names, some of you, right? These are ERP systems that are used by banks. Similarly, there are ERP systems that are used by insurance companies, etc. Right? And if you want to customize them, suppose you're starting a new insurance policy, you want to test how users will behave, will react to this kind of a new policy. How many users will qualify for it, right? Can you generate typical customer profile or demographic profile that you're targeting, and then do a testing against it? So generating training data, not only is one thing, but generating test data against your modifications in your ERP systems, in your policies, right? If you're starting a new financial product in a bank, such as new financial, fixed deposit, how many people are expected to take that? You need to have some demographic. Can you generate data? So a lot of these generating realistic data to observe how the systems will behave is a major, very important use case of generative AI. Some of you may ask me that what was wrong with data masking? We take a real data from production, real data, and we mask it, mask the personally identifiable information. As a matter of fact, there's nothing wrong with that approach. That is still being used in the industry quite a bit. However, the generative AI is more powerful than masking, because you can then generate data only on the boundary condition. You can give instructions to the model, or you can have a finer control on that model to generate specific type of data that is coming from the real user scenario. Right? That's another I saw some question, what is data masking? Suppose you want to generate data for insurance company, and you have data from all your customers about their age, their gender, their profession, their place they live, etc. A lot of their data, and you use the data instead of using that real data of actual customers to software developers to test their system. What you do is you jumble up the names, you remove the personally identifiable information such as Aadhaar card number, you mask it, you hide it, you jumble it. That's data masking. So two techniques to generate data masking or versus generation. That's really data validation is another very important uh, task by generative AI. Reviewing documents as per corporate guidelines. If you have a large company and you have many people responding to many different customers' proposal, requests for proposal, they're submitting a lot of documents to their customers. If you have a corporate guideline that is, for example, saying that you should first always have an executive summary in a document like this, etc., etc. There are some corporate guidelines you may create for every document that is being submitted to your customers in the interest of quality. How do you make sure that they are being followed? So far, it was not possible because text-based analytics engines were hard, but now it's possible. You can check. The question that I will leave you with is, you have a chatbot, you have developed a conversational AI system. How do you test it? The traditional approach is that you create a training set or you create a golden data, gold standard data, as we call it. You have questions and expected answers, and data set of thousands of such questions and answers. And you give those questions and answers to that conversational system, and you measure whether the actual answer was expected or not, and then you measure the accuracy and you test the system. That's one way. But there are alternate methods also being popular these days. For example, can you create two different agents? They talk to each other. Somebody asked me about medical field. Can you create a patient agent and a doctor agent? And you make them talk to each other. How do you test a system? They're very interesting thoughts and in approaches being used these days. If you have an opinion, I'll be happy to know. So with that, we move into what is called as agentic AI. And I have only, as I realize, 40 more minutes left. So I'll make it a little faster on this side of it. So agentic AI is a modern AI system that automates complex workflows in an organization, which was largely possible only via human beings. Now AI can do it, such as automated patient screening before they meet the senior doctor. Simple. Automated patient screening and making sure that the information is read from all their prescriptions. Maybe sometimes you will ask some question to the patient before, and summarize, create a fair enough summary, and that's an agent, and that can create a summary report and present to the doctor. Can it save the time from the doctor? It's not doing diagnosis, right? It's only doing analysis of what is already available, correlating facts from multiple reports, etc. So in summary, what is agentic AI? I've tried to give it a name called GRACE. It's a goal-driven system that first creates a plan or a strategy for achieving certain goal. It acts according to that plan automatically in an iterative manner, effectively tries to automate or enables automation for a process at hand. It can also use external tools, enterprise systems, coordinate with other agents, and adapt adapt based on feedback or what we call as learning. Very, very nice phenomena or something has happened to, in my view, to the corporate world at least. And this is exactly what I was saying, has opened up completely new world of possibilities for us. New world of possibilities. So what I was saying was new opportunities are getting created with the use of AI, and this is one of the major one in my view. We'll take example of a use case that in a mental health startup who wants to improve the patient intake process, assessment, evaluation before psychiatrists or psychologists could meet them. We've created in our own company in Rocket Frog an interactive agent that can take input from audio calls and text from the prescription from the customer, from the patient. It listens to them, talks to them, asks them a questionnaire, etc. An agent is trained to ask relevant information across multiple different types of mental disorders, well-being dimensions, etc. And it looks into all the test reports, prescriptions, prior history, and everything, and finally, if something is contradictory and unclear, it will ask questions and try to assess and give a report to the doctor, which would otherwise have taken much longer for a senior doctor to go through. While they are trained on it, it's not that they will not look at it, but they now will probably now know which document to look at with more importance. That's one of the use case. How does it work? How does agentic AI work? What are the frameworks you use? So in our world, in the corporate world, I don't know how much you're familiar with in the academia. There's something very popular called LCNC, called low code, no code. That is, we seldom write much program, drag and drop, some kind of a graphical connections, etc. Writing some sentences in those graphical nodes, and we create the system. So there are low code, no code platforms available for agentic AI also, such as N8N, Make.com, Azure Logic Apps, Bedrock Flows, and many more. And my date slide may be slightly dated. New ones have come up. On the right-hand side, we are showing those frameworks where you need to write programs. Naturally, when you're saying that you cannot write code, on the left-hand side, you have certain limitations. Not everything is so easily doable. And you feel the itch to write code and customize certain things. One of the most popular, at least in my company, almost every project, every customer that we're working for, except one or two, we are using LangChain everywhere. LangChain, LangGraph, etc. Very, very popular framework. The problem with LangChain, LangGraph is that the learning curve is a bit high. Crew.ai is much easier to learn. And Agno, in my experience, I'll put it somewhere between LangChain and Crew.ai. Again, these are my own opinion. It can be different for everyone. And these are based on some little trial. And my experience on using these is also very little. So please take my message with a pinch of salt. You can have your own learnings yourself. On the voice side, 11 Labs, LiveKit, DeepGram, so many other frameworks are available. LiveKit being more open type, and therefore it gives you. So these are some technology you may like to play with after this session. Now this is a very important slide, and I like to spend few minutes on this. And it has roots in prompt engineering as well as, and this will form the basis of AI. And probably after this and next slide, I'll again open up the floor for questions. So please let the questions keep coming in. I'll gather all the questions and try to attend to those in the next slide, after the end of next slide. So summary of prompt engineering. So there are many, if you ask ChatGPT, give me a summary of uh, 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 various techniques of prompt engineering. Some of the few ones that it'll give you is few shot, one shot, and zero shot, one shot, and few shot. And many times, if I ask this question to people who appear in an interview in my company, so many of them stop at this. They don't go beyond of these three. A zero shot is something where you only ask a question, you don't give an example. One shot, you give a question, you also give an example how to solve it, and then you ask it that in my examples, you solve it. And a few shot, you give a few examples how to solve this, and then you ask the LLM to solve it for your example. So that in a nutshell how zero shot, one shot, and few shot are. But more important are chain of thought and thought chaining. These are very, very important topics. In chain of thought, you have a sequence of or step-by-step thinking process, and then you ask it to carry out a final task. For example, let's say I was taking a use case of reading an RFP. Let's say you have a 100-page long RFP document. Right? And the when you're trying to read that document, you can give multiple steps to it. You may say, first, summarize all the key topics covered in the document. Then under every key topic, write down what is the customer ask? What is it that the customer or proposal is asking for, etc., etc. Right? So you can give multiple, you can break down this whole process of summarization into multiple steps. And these steps can be called as thoughts. And that's when you put all these steps within one prompt, that is called chain of thought. Within one prompt. In my own experience, I will tell you, I haven't seen any chain of thought prompt having more than 7 thoughts in a sequence being success. More often than not, after 5, most of the LLMs break. After 5 steps within a prompt. But some, depending on the task and how well the prompt was written, I've seen one example where it worked for 7 steps. But there also, it was not repeatable. The accuracy was not very high. So that's chain of thought. Now, what is thought chaining? Thought chaining is slightly different. You break those into 3 or 4 different prompts, like shown in the bottom of this slide. And if you do that, imagine that you have 3 prompts in a sequence, and each of them can give you 90% accuracy. As you can see, overall accuracy will become 0.9 multiplied by 0.9 multiplied by 0.9, which is 73%. But the business always wants 100% accuracy in a real world scenario. You also expect the systems. You go to a bank and you're using agentic AI system, you don't want it to falter. You want 100% accuracy. How do you achieve that? I like ideas on this. How do you solve this problem? It's a very important. I will just pause for a little while. Okay, let me see the time. We have time, so we can spend some time on this. In an agentic AI, typically what we do is we write multiple prompts and we thread them together. And one of the prompt will do certain task, and the output from that will go to next one, and the output of that will go for the next, right? And each of them is, let's say, individually measured to perform with a 90% accuracy. Overall throughput of the system will be only 73%. How do you do? How do you solve it? Any thoughts anybody wants to share, please? I hope my question is clear. Nobody wants to make an attempt, or the question is not clear? Okay, I have to repeat the question. The question is that you have multi-step process that you want to solve using LLM, and you write all the steps within a prompt. That's one approach. That's called chain of thought. Like you see the outer boundary, this is one prompt. And you have, in the upper chain of thought, you have 6 thoughts, 6 steps. The other example is you break that into 3 parts. In the first one, there are 2 steps. In the second one, there is 1 step. And the third one, there are 3 steps. So you now have 3 prompts. When you broke it, after that, you measured the accuracy of every prompt with different data. And you observe that each of these things, the first one, the middle one, and the last one, gives you accuracy of 90%. Right? So effectively, the overall accuracy of thought chaining will become 0.9 multiplied by zero point 0.9 multiplied by zero point 0.9. That is 0.9 to the power 3. And effectively, we are saying that each of these three things will give you overall accuracy of 73% only. The question is not which one will perform better. The question is, how can I make this 73% 99%? What should I do? That the accuracy is not 73%, it's 90% or now 95% or 99%. Make each thought more accurate. That's a good thought for Bishwajit. Making false positives to zero. Very nice thought by Rudresh. False positives, how do I make them zero? That's my problem, right? If I know that I can, then I don't. Please explain it how I will say. Individual thought will give more accurate. Venu, uh, the the point is individual thought is 90%, correct? I am looking at overall system accuracy, end-to-end task. Like we discussed the example of patient intake. It has to read prescription, it has to read prior test reports, it has to do some other task. Each of them is giving you 90% accuracy, then overall accuracy is 73%. When you break a larger task into small tasks and you write a different prompt for it, and each of them is giving you 90% accuracy, then your overall accuracy is only 70%. In fact, I'll go further more. If you have 5 steps in an agentic AI process, and each of them is giving you 90% accuracy, your overall accuracy will turn out to be something like 58, 59%. That's even worse. So are we saying agentic AI is a sham and it won't work? It's not true. Break the thought more and make them more accurate. Well, now let's move towards the answer. Thanks. I deliberately waited here for you to think. Look at it like this. I manage a software development team in which there are two front-end programmers, two back-end programmers. Front-end as in those who develop these UI user interface. Those in the back-end are looking at the more database side of it. Some are agentic AI developers. And to err is human, all team members can sometimes make mistake. But as a team, we succeed because there is another role called QA. Because the backend developer will try to integrate the software with what has been developed by the front-end developer. And if they don't work together, they will complain to each other, right? So, but overall, if I look at none of the team member in my team is a god. All of them can make mistake and do make mistake often, but they all work in a way sometimes in tandem with each other, against each other, etc. A tandem in the following sense: if the backend developer's program needs to be called by front end, and if they are not able to call each other's program, then they will know that there is a problem. So they are working in tandem with each other. The QA team will try to test the system. The quality assurance team, they'll go log into the system, see if the system is behaving accordingly or not, and they will send the test report to everybody, and then everybody will look at it. But as a team, they succeed and they develop. And that's really what some of these recent papers have done. And I'll encourage you to please take a screenshot of this. The first one is a React paper by Shunoyo Yao. And I know most of you come from the academic background, therefore I included this slide to give you where to read from and what is the genesis of agentic AI. Some of these papers, particularly React paper, the first one on this list, was my motivation to start learning agentic AI last year. I started using, I wrote first code more than a year ago on LangGraph, LangChain. And that's how I learned it. So React is a very, very interesting concept, uh, where they have an agent that is very similar to how I should say an agentic AI to a human, like the example of I took about a software development team. As a team, we succeed, but individually, each of them is giving you sub-optimal accuracy, right? But as a team, we succeed. Something similar is being implemented in agentic AI. Every prompt is sometimes written in tandem with each other. Sometimes it tries to work against each other, etc. And in there are planning agents. For example, it will create a plan first, start acting along the plan, and when it suppose the plan has 5 steps, and when you execute first step, you have new facts that you know which you did not know earlier, and you ask yourself a question: do I need to replan based on new emergent facts? And you keep doing it like this, right? And then there is a finally there is a reviewer agent, and all these are nothing but prompts. These are all LLM prompts, most often. Sometimes these are specific machine learning models. So the best way to think about this is you have a team of different with different skills, and as a team you want to do a task, and each of them is not perfect. None of them is perfect. All of them can make mistake, but as a team we succeed. Whatever topology you use for that is something similar being used in agentic AI, right? Just to remind you the definition of agentic AI, I'll go back here. This one: goal driven, creates a plan, acts according to the plan in an iterative manner to enable automation. Goal driven, roadmap, acts, cycles, and enables is a GRACE framework that I talked. Something very similar, what is written. In fact, my framework is defined or designed based on these many papers and some other literature that I read. So I'll take a pause here, and this is a very important milestone in this talk for us to understand that what is agentic AI and how does it work. After this, in the remaining time, I will cover some more use cases, and that will be all. In case you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Okay, give some example of on chain of thought. So in the chain of thought, when you're reading a prescription, you will first read how old is the prescription? When was this? Right? 2 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. You may also like to read what is the diagnosis the doctor may have written. What are the tests that the doctor has prescribed? What is the medicines the doctor has asked you, right? Has asked you to take at what frequency, etc. Typically, that's what a prescription comprises of, right? When you ask an agent, when you write an LLM prompt to summarize the prescription for you, you want to say these things clearly, that first read the date when it was issued, then read the diagnosis, then read the cure, and this. So you have multiple steps you're taking. You can think of it like this. That's one of the examples. Reading documents, you are full of such examples. You first want to look at the central idea of a document, and then you want to create a mind map of what is being written in that document, right? What is underneath those high level points, and then what is under each of them. You create some kind of a tree structure of the concept written in a write-up, right? Those are also steps, step-by-step process. For every step, every node in the tree that we are talking about, you may like the LLM to sort of analyze for conflict and consistency. That is this new node conflicting with any of the previous notes. So, for example, is there a conflicting point written in the document? Is this document consistent in the throughout from top to bottom? Or there is something written on page 1 that contradicts to what is written on page 5, etc. Right? So you write all of that in the single prompt, and then it becomes one thought after the another thought and after the another. So I thought of giving you some examples of chain of thought as Guru Vishal asked. And then Manjula is saying, how can GenAI be integrated into existing systems without causing major workflow disruptions? What a delightful thought. What a nice question, Manjula. Very, very, very good question. So we cannot boil the ocean. We cannot change everything. And that's really how it is happening. I am observing two types of use cases in the corporate world. Number one, greenfield development, where we could not imagine that such a thing was possible to be automated, or the extent to which it can be automated now, nobody could ever imagine. So it was already a legacy, so they decided not to continue with it. A lot of greenfield development is happening in the industry. Secondly, uh, you can introduce newer agents in the system. For example, a very popular use case in the corporate world is a case management tool, that you're receiving emails and you create a case against that, in a CRM or anywhere, and there is every case, and then a human will come and will analyze that case. And then another human will come, will analyze it, another case. For example, in service desk, when a case is logged, some people come, look at the case, and they attach a category to it that is normally called a CTIS. Those coming from the infrastructure bank would know, but if you don't know this term, and no need to worry. All they do is they give you a high detailed category of that problem that the customer has reported or the user has reported, and based on the category, it gets routed to suitable expert. So now, and then another agent, another person, another human being will come, will study whether what has been reported is actually a problem or not. Is it correct or not? And then somebody else will do something else. So all I'm trying to say, Manjula, is that you can break down the high level task into multiple steps. And today there are human beings doing it. Just replace that with AI, agent. Agent will do it with the existing system without changing, without removing that case management system, without removing the flow of data flow. And models and people can, agentic AI based solutions can come. In fact, what is more important here is to draw inspiration from autonomous car, where degrees of automation were introduced. Things like what we do is it will automate. It will never automate. It will only suggest what to do to a human being. With time, human will accept or reject the suggestion given by AI to act. With time, it will learn and start automating. And then it will tell you that I've automated, here is what I've done, here is a summary you want to review. So degrees of automation keep changing, So that's example of how AI can be. Not only in pilot phase, Manjula, even in production, we do this. We launch in a suggestive manner at a level 1 maturity of AI, and it acts only as an aid or as a co-pilot or as a help for the expert, and with time it learns from human and keeps at some point we automate, and so we achieve higher level of automation. And there are typically 6 degrees of automation we try and follow in a production environment like that. Right? I assume you've taken a screenshot of this slide. Is very, very important. Don't miss this. I'll take some more use cases, and you can keep asking questions. This is another very interesting use case reported to us by some of the financial institutions in India. When a fraud happens, it gets reported to the financial company, right? Let's imagine a payment fraud. Mr. X is sending money to Mrs. Y or something like that. X to Y, the money is getting transferred, right? Now, either X or Y can report that there was a fraud, and that X may say that I transfer the money, Y may say I did not receive the money, or etc. All kind of disputes are possible. Today, the process is following in India that if somebody reports a fraud, and if the payment gateway or payment company does not resolve it within certain number of days, they don't report back to the investigation agency such as police or federal bank or at the level of RBI, etc., they will receive various kinds of warnings. And if they don't respond to that warning via email, they suppose the transaction is for 50,000 rupees, that much of money will be lien marked. That is, it will be blocked. It will remain in their bank account, but it will get frozen. They will not be able to use it. Right? Now what? This is a typical problem that's being faced by many financial institutions. So what you should say? I'll have 20 people reading all these emails and all the frauds that are coming, and they will investigate every case. That what happened was their network drop, that everybody is telling truth, but the money is actually wrong in the system. There's something wrong in the system. Or no, Mr. X is telling a lie. Or no, Y has spoken a lie. Whatever it is, you need to first investigate and figure out what happened on that date or with that transaction with the reported date and time, and then reply to that email to the investigating authorities and be done with it. If you have 10 people doing this task, the problem that happens is the frequency at which these frauds happen is not uniform. That is, on an average, you can say 10 frauds get reported every day. So if suppose you observe that I have 10 frauds being reported every day, you say, okay, one person takes 1 hour, so I will have 2 people in my team who will do this. What if you have a day, where these fraudsters have done some kind of thing that there were 50 frauds that day. And next day, your 10 or 20 frauds continue. Now you have a stack. Now you have a delay in responding to these fraud requests. And that's how practically it happens. No matter how big a team you put up, someday something will happen and there is a stack getting built, and then there are delays in responding to those emails. Effectively, crores of rupees get blocked by RBI. What if there is an agentic AI-based system that reads this email, logs into the appropriate internal IT systems to check actually what happened, to run various SQL statements in the database, figure out what happened, who transferred money, where it is stuck, and what really transpired, and reply to that email automatically? Isn't that not impossible? I should say, isn't that not impossible? That's very much so, right? I thought, sharing this use case with you is a very interesting use case. How one can use agentic AI in finance industry. If you have any questions, to what extent can we rely on artificial intelligence in the finance sector? Parikshit Bhai. Parikshit Bhai, it's not only in finance sector, even in human safety, in matters of medical or anywhere, there are ways that you can trust. It's a smart engineering of a system that you can develop a trust. Like I was trying to tell you that there is, a team of human beings, and none of them is perfect. but as a team, they create a system that is perfect or almost perfect, that is used by human beings. Can we not, something similar not be achieved via multiple agents, and they can create a system that is almost perfect and usable in production? Or let me say it like this, it not be perfect, as good as if it was created by human beings, right? So then we can use it. There are many use cases of this in finance industry. No, this is just one of them, what you're seeing, and such systems are already coming up already. Like I said, there are many new possibilities that are opening up. The example that you see on the screen, could you have imagined setting up this kind of a software automation 2, 3 years ago? At least I could not. And this is an example of greenfield development or new possibilities this agentic AI has opened up for us. However, there is a shortage of talent, a major shortage of talent from the academia, from the new freshers. If you post a job for machine learning, deep learning, I get hundreds of applications in no time. However, for agentic AI, we keep searching for right people. So probably this kind of sessions will help us create more agentic AI experts that the industry demands and needs. Okay, so in summary, Parikshit Bhai, all I will say is carefully engineered system can be trustworthy, even in finance. That's a short answer. Uh, Manjula is saying, my final question, sir. No, please, ma'am. I like your questions. Thanks for keeping the session going. It's your questions that keeps us engaged. But anyway, I realize the time also. There are only a few minutes left. So my question is, how can organizations balance innovation with safety while adopting generative AI? What a nice question. So Manjula, my short answer is an umbrella will be useful if you keep it away from sun and wet water. It will work well. So that's a message I give to the security team. So it'll last long. The umbrella will last long if you keep it away from sun and water. So you want to protect an organization uh, without being innovative. And my message to the innovators is, how the role of security can never be underestimated. It's very, very important. Uh, these are very important pillars of running an organization: innovation and security. They have to go hand in hand. But it's up to the organizational leaders who create a sufficient separation that you are able to give them both an elbow room or a creativity that they can both thrive, and only then the organization will thrive. That's a short answer I'll have for you. Okay. So I have many more use cases, but I'll close it in the interest of time, and in case there are some questions people want to ask in last couple of minutes, I will take them. So looks like no more questions, Kamna. Thank you for inviting me. It was all these questions that made this session interesting. Thank you for you calling me the session good. I think you all made it interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Puneet. I have to say that I feel that academia has lost a great teacher to industry.
No, no.
So thank you so much for your session. Uh,
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
eye-opening. I would say it's eye-opening. So thank you so much for taking out time. I know you're very busy with all your US clients and Indian clients, and it's a privilege for us to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Kamna. Thanks for
We
calling
hope
me.
to have you back. Yeah.
Yes, I will try. I'll keep trying.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll now welcome our next trainer, Dr. Prakash Kotetti, another trainer whose lectures are very eagerly awaited because he is also very engaging, and he's a principal consultant with TechM, and he is an expert. And the best part is that he has an experience of academia. He's been an assistant professor, so he brings that to his role. And basically, he will tell you how to bring AI solutions to complex problems of the real world, and how we can work with AI to solve these problems. So thank you so much, and over to you, Dr. Prakash, for joining.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining, and over to you for taking the class. Thank you.
yeah. Thanks, Kamana. Thanks for the opportunity. Very good evening to everyone. So today's session will be discussing about generative AI. One of the important use cases like prompt engineering, right? So let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Let me know if you are able to see my screen. Just a minute. Yeah. Can you see my screen? So this is the topic that we will be discussing today in next 1 hour, 1.5 hour or so. So I will be discussing about ChatGPT and its implications and impact on education, right? So rather than looking it as a uh, you know distractor, I wanted to look at something as a tool that can create learning assets for uh, educators, right? That's what I wanted to focus on. In the process, I also discuss about various issues that one should keep in mind while interacting with these transformer models, right? So that is the agenda for today. So, so let us understand how the education is evolved, right, over period of time. You can see this uh, in early 90s, we had digital learning materials, computer labs, right? And after that, we have internet technologies, right? Thanks to Java and internet technologies, which is a big shift from legacy paradigm, like for example Y2K and all that, to internet technologies, where we started looking at different set of architectures in a client server perspective, right? Then that leads to evolution of reusable components, how one can create reusable components through design patterns, right? And when it comes to education, then there you see evolution of learning platforms, right? Because of the internet connectivity, and also multimedia classrooms. So that is actually helping you to scale, right? After that, in next 10 years, we see, of course, smartphones and blended learning, Google Classroom and all that, right? So 2010 to 20, if you look at those 10 years, essentially it leads to a lot of distractions for everybody. Even now also we all get distracted with mobile phones, right? Now, one of the challenges that you normally look at in that perspective is how do you engage students in this kind of environment where a lot of distractions you see, right? We ourselves get distracted, right? Let us be more honest about it. And at the same time, we want to be good educators, right? And we should embrace with what's happening around us. What are the latest trends? How can I bring those latest trends to classroom? Right? These are some of the aspects we always reflect upon, right? How do we make experiential learning as part of our courses and things like that, right? So, considering all this background, we look at leveraging these transformer tools, generative AI tools, and see how we can use them for learning, right? So, when you look at this as a uh, topic, right? One thing that we should always keep in mind that we are basically facilitators, right? We should not look it as a knowledge base, or we should not look ourselves as a go-to person, right? Because there is so much of content available, uh, you know, across, like for example, YouTube or certain free courses and stuff like that. Now, one thing that we always see as an opportunity is personalization, right? How do you personalize your way of delivery, right? That means I'm talking about two things here. One is pedagogical aspects, and other one is assessment aspects, right? Because we all aware of outcome based learning, and we spend a lot of time in aligning program level outcomes to course level outcomes, so on and so forth, right? But one thing we need to also understand that essentially what you look at as a course is collection of topics. That understanding is very, very important when you want to leverage uh, these transformer models in education, right? So I will discuss all those aspects while we move deeper into the subject. So now I will be focusing on ChatGPT. Like for example, it is part of OpenAI. It is developed by OpenAI and based on GPT architecture. What is GPT architecture? Can anyone answer what is GPT architecture? What is GPT? Am I audible? Hello? Yeah, yeah. Generative pre-transformer models, right? Or pre-trained models. What is it? Generative pre-trained transformer models. That means already these models are there, which are pre-trained. Pre-trained, what does it mean by training? Because internally they are based upon large language models, right? So these large language models use neural networks as abstractions in general, right? So there are weights associated with these networks. So these weights you actually see that uh, basically as learning from base data, right? You train these models with vast amount of data, and then they result into these weights, right? So that's what it says. They are trained on massive data sets to generate human-like responses. But there are many such tools like Gemini, right? In the next session that we have, right, where I will touch upon Gemini, why that is more powerful for multimodal content generation, right? So since we are talking about predominantly specific thing, that is education, right? In this session, I restrict myself to ChatGPT. That means generative pre-trained transformer model, which is very good in text generation, right? Text input generation, right? So now there are many parameters on which these models are getting trained, right? So if you look at evolution of this is a transformer architecture, typically a kind of neural network, which is conceptualized in 2017, right? And they are basically on top of a transformer model. When you look at the architecture of pre-trained transformer model, there are two arms that you can see, right? One is that you start with large scale data, then there is a pre-training module where your model learns how to predict next word, right? So then you have more robust sequential models where you generate text content, right? Now, then essentially there is optimizer, which is a kind of a tuning what you're doing. On the other hand, you have encoder decoder uh, architecture to deal with self-attention mechanism, right? So this transformer architecture essentially leverages all this, right? When you give a text-based prompt, a prompt is a query that you are typing or that you are through which you are interacting with large language model, right? So that prompt is fed to your transformer architecture, and then you have self-attention mechanism, so on and so forth, right? This is the typical architecture of GPT. Now, when you look at education and ChatGPT, what you are talking about personalized learning, I already explained that, right? So you would like to know instant answers with appropriate explanation. You would like to, uh, you know, explore problem solving methods, right? Then you want to facilitate or give some tips or hints when you design assignments. So ChatGPT is or prompt engineering and LLMs are effective in two types of uh, pedagogies, right? One is problem-based learning, other one is project-based learning, right? So these two areas where you would like to uh, enable students achieve higher order cognitive skills, right? I'm sure all of you aware of revised Bloom's taxonomy, right? So where you have fundamentally at the lower level of cognition, you have recall, right? And then you have application type. After that, analysis, then synthesis, and evaluation, right? Evaluation of a particular model or particular solution. Whereas in the revised taxonomy, you also see create as another component. You want to construct something. So the projects or problems that involve constructivism or you want to promote constructivism where they construct the knowledge, they create a new knowledge through this experience, right? So there you see potential to leverage these tools, right? So in the process, one important thing that we need to understand is that the problem solving or project based learning facilitates metacognition, right? Metacognition in the sense that that create an opportunity to the learner to reflect on one's own learning, that how I am learning, or I reflect on what tools and techniques I have used in this. Is there better way to do it, right? That metacognitive aspect comes through problem based learning and project based learning, right? So these concepts are very, very essential to understand. Now, let me just help you to understand uh, one important thing. Hope you are able to see my screen, right? So let me just 1 minute. Give me a minute. So when you look at concepts, right, you're able to see my screen? Yeah. Yeah. I'm just currently using a blackboard. Hope it is visible, right? So concepts, you can classify them into four types, or C1, C2, C3, C4, right? These are the type of concepts called recall, right? These are more or less knowledge. Now, second one is application. Third one is critical thinking. So within critical thinking, you see analysis and synthesis, right? So what is analysis? Analysis is top down or bottom up. So essentially, you are kind of what you call connect various aspects, right, to build a whole, right? Synthesis means it is like a top down approach. You decompose it to smaller and smaller parts and try to see how it is, right? Now, on top of it, you have evaluation, right? So we will evaluate the solution, right? Then there is something called, on top of it, you can also add create. You want to create, you want them to create an artifact, right? So this comes under skills, right? So this is knowledge, right? So to some extent, we can also do this. So when you think of any skill, skill is collection of abilities, right? To do X, Y, Z, isn't it? So these are the articulations that you will do as part of your course objectives and all that. Right? So this is very important when it comes to uh, prompt engineering, right? So and go back to the slide. Just keep this back of what we are discussing. Now let me show you how it AI is being used, especially you know these kind of models are used in education. Let me know if you are able to hear this. Can you hear this? Can you see? 1 minute. Can you hear this? Yeah. Not audible? Give me a minute. Just a minute. Let me just try. I will share this link. Give me a minute. I will share that link. So I shared that link. Hope you are able to play that video, right? Hello? So this is an interesting use case where you know we look at a particular uh, disability, right, of reading words, right? So how a AI-based tool can enable people who are actually having that kind of a problem, isn't it? So it talks about that. All right. Similarly, let me share one more. You are able to hear, still you have same problem. Let me check. Are you able to hear this? The other one? Okay, good. So this other use case, how students are exploring AI. Not audible. 1 minute. Yeah, yeah. Give me a minute. Yeah. Now let me play this. You let me know whether you are able to hear this.
Consider it cheating. I know plenty of
I'm
people
doing it again.
like that actually. High school seniors. AI is the
Can you hear
new
now?
reality in classrooms across the country.
So how many
Yeah, I did that. Thanks for that suggestion. Yeah, good. Thank you.
of you use the AI like ChatGPT or Bard in this discussion? How many of you pulled it up? All right.
As more students turn to tools like ChatGPT or Google's Bard to generate explanations
or whole essays in seconds. A new survey found nearly half of teens say they will likely use AI to do their schoolwork this year, even though more than half in the same survey say they consider it cheating.
I know plenty of people like that, actually.
High school senior Zachary Clifton says since ChatGPT's release last November, it's become normal
At the learning loss that was brought on by the pandemic, it caused an influx of students who felt compelled to cheat.
He says he uses the tech only to create study guides, but says it's no secret AI can easily be misused.
I think whether or not ChatGPT will enhance or impair a student's education is ultimately their choice.
Schools are struggling to set the rules. The nation's two largest districts banned the use of generative AI tools last school year, but school officials in New York and Los Angeles are now openly wondering about exploring AI's potential benefits. At Mountain View High School in Silicon Valley, there is no formal guidance on AI, at least not yet.
So that would be a categorical grant.
But this year, Ms. Hancock tweaked the rules for her class.
I think for us to fight it is a losing battle. We should be teaching kids how to use it as a tool and not as a shortcut.
She now allows students to use programs like ChatGPT as directed and only on some assignments.
I think it's different to use ChatGPT to research a question in Gov versus to use it in English to write a paragraph.
Ms. Hancock says she may even consider changing how she evaluates her students.
I think that the way we assess student knowledge is going to increasingly be in this format. It's going to be conversation and discussion, maybe formal debates of some kind. But it's
Tell me about what you know here and now.
Right.
Don't write it down. Don't email it to me.
You'll have a chance to prep it and write it, but I'm going to ask you to speak it because that lessens the chance of them using the AI as wholesale.
So this is
for their
where
knowledge.
Is it
even
logistically
prompt
feasible
engineering
for you
plays
to have
very
a sit-down
important role.
conversation with every one of your students and assess them that way?
No. So we have to figure that part out as well.
So for now, students are left to navigate how they will implement AI in their own education. And in the end, AI may force us all to reconsider how school works entirely.
I see 150 kids sometimes a day. And so how do I ensure all 150 have access to the material? This is a tool that can help us do that. Am I creating problems? Probably. Will things be lost? Probably. But maybe it's okay that they're lost because new things will be found.
All right. So what is your
AI.
reflection on this, right? What do you think? So important thing is if you observe this particular case study, right? How do we leverage generative AI as knowledge construction tool rather than a shortcut for the students? So the role of educators is very, very critical in this aspect because where we are asking them to explore using ChatGPT, for example, right? That is very critical. Otherwise, what will happen is that it will actually destroy our intentions and actually it will affect the learning goals, right? That we want to achieve as part of that course, isn't it? So it's very important. It's very important for us to understand intricacies of leveraging these large language models, right? And also, uh, we should see how we can uh, prompt. I keep on telling this prompt, right? These models and what kind of prompts we want the students to write, right? That is also very important. So we'll discuss in detail those aspects
AI is
next. Now I am sharing this. Let me see my volume channel, how much it is. I think it is full. Give me a minute. No, I just want to see whether there is a breakage because of something, right? So let me play another video, right? Now, this is a famous use case. This is from actually Khan Academy, right? He's actually see this.
OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it
I just shared the link also, so you can go through it.
started. It's loading up. All right, make sure it can see our screen.
Actually, in this format,
hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha
So
right
this is a
here,
good
right?
use case for inquiry-based
That's
learning,
correct.
right?
Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So, I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side to angle alpha?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent side, and I know that's the hypotenuse, so I'm guessing that this side, BC, is the opposite side.
Great deduction. That's absolutely correct. Now that you've identified all the sides relative to angle alpha, do you remember the formula for finding the sine of an angle in a right triangle?
Yeah, I know that the sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse.
Perfect. That's absolutely right. Now, can you apply that formula to find sine alpha in the triangle using the lengths of the sides that we've identified?
Okay, so, I mean, you told me that 7, this side BC, is the opposite side. And then you said that the hypotenuse is the longest side, so that would be this side AB, which is 25. So would the answer be 7 over 25?
Excellent work. That's correct. Sine alpha equals 7 over 25. You did a great job identifying the sides and using the sine formula. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask.
All right. So what do you actually understand from this example? Right? Any thoughts on this? Let me 1 minute. What do you understand from this example? What is your reflection? We have seen 3 use cases, right? Correct, correct. Very good. No. See, I'm not saying that our experience, right? I'm not talking about our experience of observing this video, right? I am talking about, as an educator, what do you think we should leverage from these large language models, right? Like, for example, I am interested in knowing from you that let us take an example, this course. for this course, using this large language model, I'm going to promote inquiry-based learning using XYZ. So just reflect on those aspects, right? How we can inculcate. So if you observe these videos very clearly, right? These are all self-driven. Self-driven means suppose you give something to the student, you expect student to do certain things by leveraging these models and come back to you with options, right? For the exercises that you give, right? So then you put one question back, it turns out that how my assignment should be so that it triggers enough curiosity and interest because they are dealing with some open-ended problem. So that means suppose if I am a trigonometry teacher, right? I am teaching trigonometry, let us say, then I need to probe because you cannot cover everything in the class, right? So major problem, even when I learned trigonometry as a student, major problem where we get stuck is the initial concepts of conversion of angle, right? Degrees to radian, radians to degrees and all that, right? By the time I try to assimilate that, then suddenly we will introduce the formulas like sine theta, cos theta, isn't it? So now think in a different way that suppose you are planning to introduce the concept of angles trigonometry. Uh, you just give as a weekend exercise, just ask them to explore uh, conversion of angles from radians to degrees, degrees to radians, and come back on Monday to explain what it is exactly. So that means instead of taking the responsibility of making them understand degrees and radian conversion, you are delegating that responsibility to the student where they can actually and effectively leverage these tools and come back to you with their reflection of their own learning, isn't it? And that will internally make that will essentially make your you know complexity little less because then you can straight away start with uh, Pythagoras theorem and triangle and then introduce the concepts of sine and cosine angle, so on and so forth. Because once these fundamentals sit in their mind, right, then that will carry out for next 3 4 years till they get into 10 plus 2, right? So that's why it is very important in the ninth, for example, at ninth or 10th standard, how we introduce this particular concept. And so is the case with the coordinate geometry, right? So these are the critical topics, right? That's why I'm taking this example. Now let us come back to engineering discipline, right? In engineering discipline, you can pick up some certain courses like data structures and algorithms, right? In data structures and algorithms, uh, again you pick up certain topics like let's say you deal with restricted list, right? We have stacks and queues as restricted list, right? Suppose you introduce stack as a concept, you give them applications of stack, then you can ask them to uh, to understand how queue works, queue as a data structure, which is again a restricted list, and again applications of queue. Then there is enormous content and beautiful content is available outside, right? So which will make them understand these things, you know, first time right and come back to you. That way it will also simplify your job of uh, not taking that kind of a burden of completing the syllabus, right? Because we have limited number of lectures, especially if you take 3 credit course, right? So you need to figure out the subject in terms of concepts, right? Any subject you take, any course, most precisely, you divide that course into collection of topics. Now we classify these topics into one of these levels of taxonomy. You are already doing that, isn't it? Because you need to work on CO PO attainment, isn't it? So as part of that, you might be doing it. But when you divide these concepts, you delegate certain things to the students. so that they can learn and come back, right? So instead of watching certain destructive videos, right, they can spend some time leveraging this content which is already available specific to this particular problem. That's how we can actually engage them, right? That's why we should be very, very careful when we are leveraging these tools, right? Because one of the important thing is ethical aspects, isn't it? And plagiarism aspects, right? So if you are not careful enough in this delegation exercise, then we will lose entire focus, because entire learning goal, as will be affected, because they lack essentially deeper understanding on the topic, because what we are giving them to explore may not warrant that kind of exercise, isn't it? So we need to have a right selection of topics, and how do you frame this as a take home exercise? These two play very important role. And because if you want to test them on factual knowledge, let us say you ask them, you just you come prepared with a small note on linear data structures. That is not going to help them, because it is all factual knowledge, right? There is no application in that, right? So they will whole bunch of content, they will just, if you type in chat GPT that what are the linear data structure, it will give you a list, but there is no explanation, there is no interactivity and all that, right? We need to be very precise. We need to be aiming at a particular concept with a statement of learning goal clearly mapped against that particular concept. Are you getting what I'm saying? So I want this session to be interactive. If you have questions or any suggestions or anything, that you can share it here, right? Otherwise, what happens, we will see, when you see certain videos, you feel excited. But goal of this session is, we want to take few things so that we can practice, right? That is the intent of this session. So I want this to be interactive, so you can post your questions or observations or anything that you feel deem fit here. Once we conclude this, then we get into prompt engineering. That means the way we interact with large language models. Right? Yeah. Yeah, correct. That is valid concern. Can you elaborate? Uday Suryan, Professor Uday Suryan. Can you elaborate? No, no. Can you be more precise? Can you frame your question more precisely? What do you mean by concern and understanding? Correct, correct. So now, if I put your question correctly, how do we decide where to use? How do we decide what to suggest them, right? Because again, it should not become a liability for us whether they actually learned, whether they actually understood that concept or not. Am I correct? Or are you referring to us as educators? How do we understand this tool so that we can better use? What is your question? Okay, students. That's why I'm saying, that's what I am explaining you, right? When you are dividing the class concepts, when you classify these concepts, then you identify the concepts that can promote constructivism, right? So, see, suppose, let us say, uh, you have a problem state, you have a statement, English statement, describe Taj Mahal, right? Describe Taj Mahal. Can it can it be considered as a problem statement assignment to the student under problem based learning? Hello, can we give this as a exercise under problem based learning? No, answer is, can we give, or that may not be useful. Yes, Brijesh is saying no. Why? Brijesh, I like your answer. Why we don't consider this a good exercise for the students to use these language models? Why this kind of exercise not appropriate or not suitable for this? Can you hear me, Brijesh? Exactly. There is no dilemma, because when you think of problem based learning, you always look at various options and evaluate these options, isn't it? So that creates enough curiosity among the students towards learning. Suppose you say that, okay, give me a write up on Taj Mahal, you can use chat GPT, then what will happen? It will dilute entire purpose. They will just type describe Taj Mahal without understanding. They will copy paste whatever answer that chat GPT is giving. And again, it is headache from you, from a educator side, that we have to validate what they have written there, right? It should not be like that, isn't it? So now what is the option that we have? Option is that when you give a problem that should potentially require literature survey in two terms. That means they should extract different resources and they should synthesize that information, and then they should come out with a set of inferences, and those inferences to be presented to you. That synthesis of the knowledge, right? Now, what these language models does, they extract information from web, they extract information from other platforms, they synthesize that information and give it to you, right? Isn't it? So that's where you always focus on aspects or concepts which have enough scope for project based learning and problem based learning. So you don't put questions like factual knowledge or lower level of cognition type stuff for leveraging these uh, AI models, right? Hope that makes it clear. Is it clear now? Or any other question you have? Now, since you understood this, can you give an example exercise that you want to give to students of any subject, how they can leverage this, right? You can type in the chat box the subject and the concept and then exercise like that. You got my question, right? You understood my question? I am asking you that we want students to learn certain critical concept in a particular subject. For that, you want to design a problem, right? Where you expect the students to leverage these language models and understand, come back with the answer. Now you can type in the chat box that what is the subject that you are looking at, within the subject which concept you are targeting, and what is the question, the exercise question that you want to pose to the student. Then we will evaluate that and see whether it is a meaningful thing to do or not. It's a kind of small workshop we are doing, right? It's not that one-way communication where I have certain content I want to present and then explain. It is not about that. I want you to practice this, take certain key takeaways from this interaction so that you can apply in practice. Are you getting the question right? A small exercise, you can spend some 5 minutes. In the chart, we can type subject and then concept. Then what is the question you want to give to student? And what is your expectation? They should use large language model and come back with some meaningful answer, right? So give an example because you have rich experience. You are teaching a lot of courses, right? So you can pick up any course and any concept. Or we can try together. You can type the subject name at least. Then we will pick up the concept. Hello, Brijesh. Finance project investment decisions. Fantastic. Very good, Professor Lakshmi Pandey. Now, this is a good thing. Finance project investment decisions. Now, put the concept name also. Then you pick up certain concepts where they can explore and come back to you. Net present value, right? Net present value. Very good. Okay. Now, frame the question. Don't put the question what is net present value because anyway you are explaining that in the class, right? Hello? Correct. Very good. So you type of defining a problem. You type of defining the problem and ask them to compute this, right? But it is a simple exercise where if they apply some formula, they will get it. But what you need to put a question is that uh, you give that considering current revenue of the company, right? And assume that this company is interested in investing in AI startups, correct? Assuming that current revenue of this company, assuming that this is interested in investing something, perform and evaluate risk and come out with options, correct? Are you, because there is like some kind of dilemma, openness. It's not a unique solution. It is not that a small exercise of problem solving, right? Isn't it? Are you getting?
Sir, we are almost time now.
Almost time. Okay. So these are the things I want you to understand. You know, how much time we have, madam? We have at least 10 minutes.
Isn't it 9 o'clock?
It is 9 only, na? We have till 9:30, I think, right? No.
No, I think 7:30 you started, 8:39. 9 is the time.
No, no, my session is started at 8, I think.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Correct.
So don't
Yes, yes. Sorry, sorry.
don't squeeze half an hour of my time.
I'm so sorry.
No
So
problem.
many things are going on. So many things are going on. Sorry.
I
Please
can
continue.
understand, no problem. No, am I correct? I have time till 9:30, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, madam. Yeah. So now, yeah, suppose you take this problem, right, Professor Lakshmi Pandey. How do you articulate this? Because giving this kind of a problem, company has some 1 lakh revenue and all that. How do we make it better? How do we reframe this problem to the students? So can anyone try? Strategic using ChatGPT come out with arguments and examples which supports and opposes measure very good. Bridges this fantastic. So you can be more precise actually because there is certain generic thing in this statement, right? So you should put specific things when you say arguments, right? Because in strategic managements you will have various aspects under consideration, right? You can articulate those aspects. You can say that you don't have to tell them use chat gpt. Anyway, they know how to, they know they will use chat gpt, right? Are you understanding? Anyway, they will use that part, you can remove it. You can say that considering the aspects of xyz, right, provide arguments and examples that supports are against or for these mergers and acquisitions. Like that you can plan, right? So so when I say problem based learning, it is not that a numerical problem based, right? Problem based learning is having a certain characteristics. Actually, obviously, this class is not about, this session is not about pedagogy, right? It is about leveraging these tools in teaching and learning. So I don't want to get into that aspect of how do we define problem-based learning, characteristics of problem-based learning. I don't want to get into that. But definitely, a numerical problem, solving a numerical problem does not does not come under this. We cannot consider that under problem-based learning. Now, what are the important things? Because when you are interacting with large language model, what you type is called prompt, right? So prompt engineering is craft of designing inputs for AI models. So when you design a prompt, it has to be clarity and specificity in terms of the response that we get. And we also want to provide a context to guide the model. And there is a certain inputs, techniques that we should follow, that is called structure and constraints and all that. And we can find some iterative approach where your model will inspect and adapt through those refinements. So these are the techniques that we are looking at. So first one is clarity and specificity. So our prompt has to be very clear. Suppose if you ask ChatGPT explain photosynthesis, that may not be a good thing to ask, right? Explain photosynthesis in simple terms for a 10-year-old. That means persona. Persona is very important, right? Persona means actors under consideration for whom you are asking. So that is a good example. Now, providing context. That means include some kind of a background information that can help us with meaningful answer. Like for example, create a tagline for a new eco-friendly water bottle. You are a marketing expert, right? Instead of saying that I want to have a good catchy name for water bottle, right? That's how you need to look at. Similarly, structure and constraints. So these are additional artifacts like tables and lists, etc. Now, what's the concept of iteration here? Prompting, the prompts that you give, through these prompts your model keep learning, right? So the prompts are to be simple and iterative and incremental way, right? So there are certain things, few shot prompting, chain of thought prompting, etc. I will discuss that. Essentially, few shot prompting means when you ask a question, you give certain examples. Like for example, you type a prompt. Let me type this. 1 minute. 1 minute. Now I will share this. Now look at how do I give the prompt. You can see my screen, right? Let me share again. Now, can you see my screen? Now let us say I will ask, I wanted to ask certain things, right? So I will say something like, let me pick up a topic. So I will say New Delhi is capital of India. What is of let's say another country, Malaysia. So it is giving, right? It's saying Malaysia is capital of Malaysia is Kuala Lumpur. This is called one shot prompting. One shot prompting means you are giving an example, you are anticipating some answer, right? So let me ask one more question. Uh, I will take some machine learning example, right? In support vector machines, there are two hyperparameters, C comma gamma. So C helps in margin, right? C acts as penalty. Now, what is the role of gamma? Let me just increase the screen. Now, this is the prompt I'm giving. Let me change this. In support vector machines, there are two hyperparameters, C and gamma. C acts as a penalty term. What is the role of gamma? Suppose if I type this. Now see how it is giving role of gamma. Curvature of the decision boundary. High gamma means each support vector has very short range of influence. Low gamma means long range of influence. How nicely it is giving the answer? Because you are giving an example saying that, okay, this is the role of C. Can you explain what is the role of gamma, right? This is called one shot prompting. So there are various techniques in prompt engineering, like let me share my screen. One minute. So zero shot, few shot, chain of thought. So these are the various strategies that you want to use. One is one shot prompting. You give a single example to guide the response. And few shot prompting, you give few examples to guide the prompting, right? And chain of thought means you will give as an inquiry based approach. It's a kind of step by step reasoning process, right? That you can see here. And what the purpose of one shot? To just get basic idea. Few shot means you want to understand a pattern or a structure with multiple examples. Chain of thought means you want to create a logical and or mathematical sequence, chronological sequence for the problem, right? So these are examples. One shot means translate the following sentence to French. You are giving an example. I love music. That is translated Alex. Now translate. I read books. So you are giving one example and asking it to create for another one, right? Unknown statement. Now few shot prompting means you are giving more than one examples, right? Now chain of thought means you can think of like this. If a train travels 6 kilometers in 1 hour, how long it will take to travel 180 kilometers? So let us reason step by step, right? So normally one shot prompting is useful when you are just looking at summarization or text classification kind of stuff. Few shot prompting will be useful for little complex scenarios, and chain of thought will be useful when you want to chronologically order your logic, right, in the response. That's why math problems and reasoning based problems you will be using chain of thought approach. So of course, even though chain of thought approach, you are giving more detailed chronological order, but that can lead to a problem where it can give some verbose outputs, right? So these are the skill sets that are required if anyone wants to become prompt engineer, both hard aspects and as well as soft aspects, right? So in engineering education, you can use prompt engineering for problem solving, personalized feedbacks, right? Promoting critical thinking, so on and so forth, right? Now let us look at some use cases of chat GPT. So what it says is that, now you see here, our same net present value problem, right? There is no audio for this, by the way, because it's just demo kind of a thing, right? So you can use study mode when you all right. So that is it. Now there is something called notebook LM. Is also another nice example, right? Yeah.
Welcome to Notebook LM. This is where you can start exploring the power of generative AI. The first thing you need to do is start a new notebook. Select the Create button here to get started. Once you do that, you'll be prompted to add some source documentation. Notebook LM supports PDFs, text files, Markdown, or audio files like MP3. You can also add documents from Google Drive, you can add links from websites or YouTube, and even paste in text. Let's try this out and upload these documents: McKinsey's report on the economic potential of generative AI, and Google Cloud's white paper on building an effective AI strategy. Okay, once those documents
You're able to hear, right? Oh.
are uploaded, this text box at the bottom is where you'll enter your prompts. Think of it similarly to Gemini, as having a conversation with a super smart assistant. But think of Notebook LM as a research assistant that relies only on the documents you provided for context. There you go. Notebook LM will create a concise summary, drawing directly from the uploaded documentation, and provides citations for easy reference. You can ask Notebook LM questions about the source material, give it creative tasks, or have it summarize highly complex information. You'll also notice in the right panel, the Studio panel, you'll see two sections: an audio overview and a notes section. The audio overview section will actually generate a podcast from two hosts based on the source documentation. And the notes section will auto-generate a note or a study guide, a briefing doc, an FAQ, or even a timeline. So now it's your turn to explore and see what things you can unlock with Notebook LM.
All right, this is another tool, Notebook LM, right? So there are certain issues with these language models, right? That is called hallucination, right? This is one of the important aspects or side effects that one should be aware of. What is hallucination? When model generates incorrect or fabricated information, right? So this could be potentially because of ambiguity or poor quality of prompts that you are giving, and things like that. Okay, and we need to validate this. So why it happens? Because vague prompts or poorly defined prompts, limitations of training data, and poor pattern inferencing, overgeneralization during reasoning, right? Now, there are a couple of examples. Inventing sources, books, or studies, fabricating codes like dates or statistics, providing logical sounding, right, but incorrect reasoning. So misidentifying people, places, all that. How to reduce? Use good prompt design techniques. Like you need to identify scenarios where you can use few shot prompting. You can look at the scenario and explore whether it requires chain of thoughts kind of prompting. So all these prompt design techniques you should be fully aware of. You should be hands-on on that. That's why that is one of the critical skills in prompt engineering, right? Prompt engineer role has become prominent because people from different backgrounds like testing and Q&A or automation platforms, right? That is a good scope for them to switch to AI space, and then slowly they can get into any of the domains such as NLP, etc. Right? So this is some example for zero shot and few shot algorithms. Then chain of thought. How does self-attention mechanism GPT model differ from publisher subscriber model in Kafka? Explain step by step. Some, deep so deep thinking, right? Now I have a questions for you because we discussed a lot of stuff. Can I ask questions? Because you also have exam, I think, right? Isn't it? Yeah. Can we get into some sample question and answers? Hello? So these are the questions. In prompt engineering, the persona pattern is primarily used to. Can you identify the correct option in this? When you say persona pattern, you are making a specific role or identity, right? Which of the following example of persona prompt can you identify from the options? Which option? B. Let me see B. Yeah, yeah. Correct, correct. Now, third question. Why are persona patterns useful in prompt engineering? Which option is correct? C. Correct. Next question. Why I'm giving these examples? Because I know that you have to take an exam, but you also want to know gist of how you need to think, right? Now let us look at this. A teacher designing prompts for educational chatbot wants somebody act as a patient tutor. Which technique is best? First of all, using few short examples, enforcing token length limit, these are all distractors. You remove that. Now we have left with two options: applying chain of thoughts reasoning, setting a persona with role play instructions, right? Hello? Which one is correct? C. Very good. Excellent. Now let me go to the next question. And of course, there are certain bias, right? What is the major cause of bias? Human bias, which is embedded in the training data. Because what is the fairness? Fairness means provide equitable treatment across different groups. Now look at this question and answer. Which option is correct? Let me see your options. Bias, very good. Now, next question. Which organization or guideline emphasizes fairness and accountability in AI development? See, by answering the question also we learn something. That means now you learn that there is something called UNESCO AI ethics recommendation, which will actually, you know, provide some kind of guidance and set of principles for ethical and responsible AI, right? Next, why is fairness important in AI systems? Yeah. Now, what the reason I am showing these questions is you might be going through some learning content, right? As part of future skill platform, you try to make note of some basic stuff, right? That way, it will help you to write the assessments with confidence, right? Because preparation of assessment, your preparation for the assessment should be aligned with what I am covering or what sessions you are attending, isn't it? I want to ensure that scope. By attending this session, you should be able to answer questions related to prompt engineering, for example. That is my one of the objectives. You should be able to explain me what are the techniques for designing effective prompts. You should be able to figure out how generative AI model works. Correct? So there are certain learning outcomes I kept in mind for this session. Okay, that's all I have for you. Now this is question and answer time. Please ask me if you have any questions. Hope this session is informative, right? Or anything that you want me to add? So I think I am on time, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. You can
Yeah.
rag me. You can take my ragging on this.
No problem. Thanks.
Nay, we just still have 2 more minutes
Two,
if
three
somebody
minutes.
wants
Yes.
to.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we'll just wait to see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Prakash,
Thank you.
for your session. It's very
Thank you so much.
informative
Thanks
as
for the
usual.
opportunity.
And just for the participants, there's no feedback link right now. There is only one feedback link, which will be an Atal portal, which you can do at the end of the FTP program, 6 days. So thank you so much, everyone. Tomorrow also, we'll see you at 6 o'clock. We have enrolled you in the Future Skills Prime course. The content is there and the classes are happening here. So thank you so much. If you want, you can refer to the course on Future
Okay,
Skills
thank
Prime.
you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you all. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Let's see you. See you guys then. Bye.